Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session all about patience. And if you've ever felt that certain people can trigger you, rub you up the wrong way, set you off, or push your buttons, then you're going to benefit from this particular hypnosis session. And I was working with a client who was a very successful person, but they were going through an unamicable breakup. And due to circumstances, they were living in the same place as their ex. And their ex would have to discuss certain things with them, but they would take that as an opportunity to trigger them in certain ways. And what this client wanted to feel is that they wanted to feel like even if they were trying to be provoked and buttons were trying to be pressed, they wouldn't take the bait. They wouldn't respond perhaps in the way that they had done previously. And there's lots of metaphor, lots of direct suggestions in this hypnosis session. For example, this client felt that the Shaolin monks had this level of mental fortitude that nothing could disturb their inner peace. So we use this idea of the Shaolin monks. These are the monks that do these incredible physical feats, and they tend to wear these kind of orange or bright yellow robes. So we use this as a resource state, a role model. There's also this idea of a force field. There's other things as well, like dialing down and creating perceived distance between them and the person trying to trigger them. And also an element of future pacing, so they can really get this idea that they can know for sure that it's almost like a game, that if they can listen to what's being said and not lose their cool, then they win. And by framing it as a game and seeing the future version of themselves handling it in that way, that then empowers them to make them feel that they're able to unleash that level of patience and mental fortitude. So if you can relate to this idea that certain people can rub you up the wrong way, I think you'll benefit from this. And I want you to imagine them in this hypnosis session trying to do that, but not being successful because you've activated new resources. So think about that. If you like the stuff that I do, check out the description or the show notes. There's lots of free things that I'm giving away that you can just click and download those. And if you like the idea of working with me, then actually there will be a link in the description where you can book a free consultation call. We can have a chat on Zoom and you can see if I'm the right hypnotherapist to work with you. For now though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow your eyelids to feel heavier and more relaxed. And notice with your eyes closed how much easier it becomes to focus on the sound of my voice. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling any stress, any worries, any feelings of tension. That's it. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine an ancient temple high up in the mountains. And imagine being surrounded by monks that are wearing bright orange. And I want you to see their expressions. That look of being centered. That unflappable, unfazable calm. And I wonder if you could imagine that you've been training here in this temple for many years. I want you to get a sense of how it would feel to train your brain, your mind, and your emotions to be impenetrable to the game playing of anyone else. And of course, others may try and bait you. But that doesn't mean you have to take the bait. I want you to consider yourself the mouse that sees the cheese in the trap, but knows there is a trap. That ability to see exactly what's happening and to choose how best to deal with that situation. And I want you to imagine being in that meditative pose, breathing how the Shaolin monks would breathe. And I want you to imagine breathing in pure calm. Perhaps the fresh air from that mountainside near the temple, and just feeling that in order for any skill to improve, it requires intention and practice. Because nobody goes to a gym and gets stronger by lifting very light weights. The heavier the weight, the stronger they become. And I want you to get a sense that you are in a uniquely fortunate position. You get to be tested by someone very adept and skilled, perhaps even a master at provoking and triggering, encouraging people to lose their cool, to get to that breaking point. But what if this wasn't a problem, but an opportunity? An opportunity to have such resilience and mental fortitude that it becomes impossible for you to be triggered or provoked unless you decide your response or reaction is useful. Because if someone gets angry and they choose to show that rage, that's a response, not a triggered reaction. And I want you to imagine being there in the temple. Perhaps you could even imagine wearing those orange robes, breathing in calm, exhaling tension. And I want you to imagine a glowing force field around you. Think of the color of that force field. And maybe it's just a barrier of energy. Or maybe it's something solid like bulletproof glass or thick perspex. Maybe it's a futuristic bubble-like membrane. Or perhaps futuristic nanotechnology. The ability to create an instant barrier for some, and yet it doesn't exist for others. You've seen those sunglasses that are normal glasses, and then when the sun comes out, they instantly go dark. I want you to imagine that you have a force field that is only activated when you need it. I want you to picture that force field, and then imagine being there in the temple. And imagine a specific person that in the past has got to you, has triggered you. And I want you to imagine they have an intention. Their intention is not to communicate or solve a problem, find common ground. It is simply to rattle you, to upset you, to make you lose your temper. And if that happens, they win. And they will sleep with a smile on their face. But if you don't react in that way, you win. And over time, they are forced to change their approach to be more respectful, to respect boundaries, because doing it their way no longer works for them. But I want you to imagine that person tenaciously, intently trying to provoke you. But I want you to breathe like a Shaolin monk. I want you to imagine that activated force field. And even if they're close, I want you to imagine that rather than seeing their proximity in meters or feet, I want you to imagine counting it in atoms. And when you imagine how many atoms are between you and they, perhaps it starts to feel like they're 1,000 miles away. And when they feel like they're far away, and when you feel like you're protected by that force field, and when you feel you have that mental fortitude of the Shaolin monk, I want you to enjoy it like a game. The harder they try, the more resourceful you feel, knowing that you have all the options to just listen and not react, to make clear what you're willing to do and not willing to do, to shift your attention away from their words to something else like music or something else. I want you to feel that before, maybe it felt like they had the power to get to you. But now I want you to feel that you are safe, you are protected, you are resourceful. And it's almost like a game show. Imagine that if you lose your cool, they win $1 million and you lose $1 million. But if it never gets to that point, they lose and you win. And just start thinking about how you would need to think about the dynamics so that no matter what is said or shrieked or shouted or yelled, it never gets to that point. It's so far away from breaking point. And if you can start to imagine those dynamics, let me know by nodding your head. So now let's imagine she's saying or doing the worst possible things. You identify a malicious intention. There is deceit, lies, shrieking, and yet you are the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane. All the chaos is outside of you, outside of your force field. You are the calm in the storm. You can listen, even decode what's being said, and then deciding how to respond. I want you to get a sense that you can use past events where you did lose your cool to mentally rehearse what you would do if this calm, centered, grounded version of you, the version of you that can observe the anger but choose not to participate, to know that you are dealing with someone extremely skilled, but you feel that you are also extremely skilled. Becoming a game of 4D chess, moves and counter moves. But you will never get to that checkmate position where you lose your cool. You have too many options. Really imagine them shrieking, but imagine the force field seems to turn the volume down on that. They're trying to do whatever they do, and then just imagine noticing something in the present. How something looks, how something sounds, how something feels. Mindfulness, the force field, the mental fortitude of a Shaolin monk, the gamification. I want you to feel that any one of these things could make it so you don't get triggered. But what if you utilize many of them? And maybe there's even a part of you that feels like these attempts, rather than break you, build you. That actually part of you welcomes the practice. A Shaolin monk can't do their impressive feats just by wanting to. They practice. They do difficult things again and again until those difficult things become easy. What if this is you training at altitude? What if this is your resilience and mental fortitude boot camp? The tallest, strongest trees have weathered the fiercest storms. What if at some point in the future, maybe 5 years from now, someone else tries to provoke you and you smile because of all that practice you had in your past? You are unflappable. You are immune to these triggers. What if that is the opportunity? To build a set of counter skills that could become even more useful outside of this one person. I want you to see that look of defeat on their face when they finally give up, that whatever they try just isn't working with you. And then imagine going forwards in time, seeing yourself in your own home. And I want you to see that person waiting for the ideal opportunity. Maybe you've had a win, something successful. Maybe they see you smiling more and they're just waiting to rain on your parade. But I want you to see that future version of you, breathing differently, moving differently. See yourself with a new level of internal strength, and imagine seeing you with a glowing force field that only appears when it's needed. I want you to see yourself as that calm, resilient individual. And I want you to see them try their hardest to trigger you, to upset you, to make you angry. And I want you to get a sense that the harder they are trying, the more that version of you becomes more resourceful, more patient, more mindful, more protected. I want you to get a sense that there is a toddler in everyone that just wants attention. If they can't get the kind of attention they want, they will get any attention, even if it means causing chaos, throwing tantrums, spreading lies, because otherwise it feels like they're invisible. But every time you react and respond, you are giving them the very intention and attention that they want. And every time you withhold that attention, you are rewarding them for communicating in a more respectful, useful, direct way. And if you can see that future version of you responding differently, with more of the qualities that would help, irrespective of what they do, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then imagine stepping into that future version of you, this time a year from now, when all of this uncertainty is coming to an end. And I want you to tap into a feeling of gratitude. That were it not from this individual attempting to upset you, hurt you, harm you, you would never have that level of resilience, of fortitude, of inner strength than you would have done. As you breathe in and breathe out, find yourself back in that temple. And I want you to see the wisest of all of the monks, the elder. And I want you to see a young, angry man approaching the elder, hurling abuse and insults, lies about their character, all the most vile, worst things that could be said. And yet the elder remains unshaken, unmoved. And when the younger, vile, toxic individual finally gives up with nothing more to say, the elder responds and asks that young man a question. If you were to give a gift to an individual and they do not accept the gift, to whom does the gift belong? The confused young man says, well, if the gift is never accepted, it remains the property of the person that tried to give it. At which point the elder explains, I have not accepted your insults, your lies, your attempts to assassinate my character. So to whom do they belong? I want you to get a sense that people can say whatever they want to say. Whether you accept them or not is your choice. And if you do not accept them, then they belong to whoever attempted to give them. It's time to leave that temple, but take with it all of that sense of inner peace, that Zen feeling, that mental fortitude, that resilience, that unflappable, rock-solid mindset. And also float back with that force field and the ability to be mindful and set boundaries, to respond rather than react, but also the idea that it's all just a game, and you now will be even more tenacious to win that game. So float all the way back to the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. That's it. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8. Open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.